Hello and welcome to the Nerdiest podcast, the show where nerds talk about nerdy things. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Nick Barrett, and as always, I am joined by my forever co-host and ride or die, Mr. Jackson the Yellow. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, son. I feel like my life is coming to a point where I need to just let out some air and say, I don't know how to parallel park, and I've never been to Greenland, and it looks beautiful. I've never painted daisies on a big red rubber ball. I've never bathed in yogurt, and I don't look good in leggings. And I've never been to Boston in the fall. That's right. Here in my old age, I'm here to tell you to follow the Nerdiest Podcast on Instagram, at the Nerdiest Podcast, and at TikTok, at the Nerdiest Podcast. And listen on your preferred platform and give 5 stars everywhere. And buy stickers with the link in the description. There's 3 designs. Until then, I have to fly onto a new adventure. But I will leave you with my grandson, Jackson. Until then, so glad that I could guest on your wonderful podcast. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye, children.
And with that, hello, fellow listeners. Welcome back. And today we are going to be doing the second of our revisiting series. The first one was Jurassic Park / World. Today we're going to be doing revisiting Lord of the Rings in 2022. And there's Jackson. I don't know.
Hey guys.
You're late.
Hey, yeah, I'm sorry.
You're late. Thank God your grandfather filled in for you in the beginning.
Oh, Jackson the Yellow?
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's awesome.
I know, right?
He's like
such a wizard.
He's like an internet wizard. I don't know if you knew that. He's like super in with the times. He
that's
like
pretty dope.
He like comes in and like plugs socials, so that's like his job.
Cool. But he only does it on Lord of the Rings episodes.
Yeah, of
that's
course.
Crazy.
Of course.
Because you've never mentioned him up until this episode.
Well, he's, not really in the family anymore. It's like a thing. I don't want to talk about it, but
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. No, he every once in a while he just likes to come in and plug the socials like the good old days. So we like to give him that little thing before, But
okay.
anyway, we're just gonna. What are you talking about? What are you doing?
It's telling the listener / viewer that today we're going to be revisiting Lord of the Rings in 2022 to get
cool.
hyped and, excited for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, the Amazon original Prime series, which is one of the most expensive shows ever made. I think it is the expensive show ever made.
Right?
Most expensive.
What was the
correct?
budget, right? I think so.
Like 40-something million per episode. I know it was more expensive than Stranger Things.
Right.
I think. Maybe. I don't know. I might be wrong. Also,
it was $465 million for one season. So
yikes.
That's a yikes. Marvel said
that's a lot of money.
Marvel said just 426 million? What?
Just 400? Dude, that's like one movie.
Lame.
With subpar CGI.
Anyway.
Come on. Also, a little peek behind the curtain for you, listener. This is the 3rd time we've had to start this episode because someone kept bumping into the table.
I'm sorry.
And ruining the audio.
It was...
I wonder whose fault that is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he's not
sorry.
All in. He's in with the times, but not all the way in. He still doesn't know how to not bump tables. It's a whole thing. Anyway.
Whatever.
So what... Before we jump into Lord of the Rings, how are you, sir? What have you been doing this week? Even though we recorded 2 days ago.
Packing. If you listen to our last episode, you'll know that it was recorded 2 days before this one.
Yeah.
Because I'm moving out. I just finished school. If you missed it, I'm a college graduate now. Okay, we've already gone over that.
Yeah.
I'm moving out. My room is a mess. To give you the cliff notes, there's only room for me to sit. There's nothing out there. There's literally one piece of furniture in the rest of my apartment. The only furniture I have is that TV stand out there, the chair I'm sitting on, the desk this is on, and one extra desk that I already took out. So I have nothing. But by the next episode, I should have a much more visually appealing setup. So that's exciting. Other than that, in the free time that I have had between packing and editing and stuff, I finally, like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is finally out, finally here. Been having a lot of fun with that. I, at some point, I definitely want to do a first impressions review type thing for, like, the TikTok and the YouTube and all that, which honestly might already be out before this episode comes out. I don't know I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. So I've been doing that. I also got to see Bullet Train last night. Generally,
how was that?
it was so good. Like, it was, I would say it's genuinely one of the most entertaining movies I've watched this year. If I'm not mistaken, it has the same director as Deadpool.
I think it was same executive producer as Deadpool. Someone Deadpool worked on it.
Hold on, I'm gonna fact check real quick because I did watch Deadpool this year. But actually, can you fact check it so I can talk
keep
about
talking
Bullet Train?
about it.
Okay, cool. So, if it is true that it was directed by the same guy as Deadpool, totally understand. It has that same Deadpool level of gore because it's rated R, but it was just so much fun. And it was like, you would think that a movie on a train could not be that fun and funny. And like, all of the characters were great, and it was very intriguing to see how all of their paths tied together and how they all ended up on this train. It was just, I don't know what to say other than it was genuinely hilarious. Like, it was great. And there's a moment, there is one, not post-credit scene, but it's like they roll the credits for like a minute, and then there's a little short scene there, and then there's nothing else after that. So if you're going to see it, stay like just briefly into the credits before the big credits roll. Just stay so you can see that scene, because it is incredibly satisfying to see that scene. I'm just saying, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. I couldn't find the exact thing in time. He was connected. He didn't direct it though.
Oh, okay,
he was connected though. I remember them saying that in the trailer.
Yeah, so it was great. Also, Staying Alive in Japanese is a banger. What can I say? That's all I'm gonna say about it, because everything else I have to say about it is pretty spoiler, and I know you haven't seen it yet, and I don't want to say anything because I want you to go see it.
I want to go see it probably Tuesday. So
it is also rated R, so some of our younger viewers out there, this movie is definitely not for you.
Ask your mom.
Maybe your parents though, or your older siblings. They might enjoy it, especially if they enjoy Brad Pitt. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, white women really enjoy Brad Pitt.
Why do you have to think so hard about that? You're pretty sure
that's Brad Paisley. I'm sorry. Women? Is that his name?
What?
Brad Paisley?
The country singer?
The country singer? Yeah. I get him and Brad Pitt confused all the time.
How?
What's the other one? What's the other guy's name that starts with a B? He's really popular.
What?
He's a country singer. He has a beard and a hat. And he was married to one lady, and then they got divorced. I don't remember his name.
It starts with a B?
Maybe it starts with an S?
Are you thinking of Luke Combs?
No.
Morgan Wallen? Shane
Brett
and
no. I almost said Brett Kavanaugh. That is not
Dan and Shay. I don't know why we're fixated on this, but I kind of want to know.
No, I'm trying to think of one song he wrote. Wait, let me look up popular country singer. This is so off topic from Lord of the Rings.
No, it is, but I want to hear it.
But I need to know.
I want to know who you're talking about.
Popular country singers. Where is it? Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton. You see, here's the thing is, ever since I stopped watching The Voice, I have not thought about Blake Shelton since this moment, so...
Fair enough.
Man, that's hilarious.
Yeah, no, Blake Shelton. I was there with starts with a B and starts with an S. I was kind of there.
B.
I had a vague, like, puzzle piece connection of who it was.
So do white women love Blake Shelton?
Apparently. White women from the South, like living in Tennessee when I did, and will shortly. Plot twist. Oh man, look at that. I haven't even moved yet, and it's already been leaked. Oh, that's crazy. You were bound to figure it out when Jackson and I started doing more in-person stuff anyway. The only thing people listen to in Tennessee is country music. I'm not even
Depends
don't
on the
hear
crowd.
people listen to hip hop.
Depends on the crowd.
I can't stand country music.
I know. Can I be honest? Most of the people I know here can't stand country music.
I can't. It all sounds the same. Hot
That
take. Here's my hot take for the week. All country music singers sound the same.
That's not a hot take. Everyone says
It's not
that.
a hot take because it's facts. Correct. You're right.
I don't know. There's some country songs that I like. If you turn on some old Alan Jackson, I'll do the Boot Scoot Boogie, which he didn't do that song, but I love Alan Jackson.
See, here's the funny thing: is I told my friends I don't like country music. I told them I hate country music, or I don't hate it, but I won't play it willingly. And they were like, "Wow, you don't like country music?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Then why were we at a Memorial Day party and you were singing all of the words to every single American country song? Like you knew all of them by heart." And I was like, "Sorry, that's what it means to be an American. Like, I'm sorry, you're not American if you don't have God Bless the USA memorized. Like, I don't make the rules.
Whoa.
I don't make the rules.
I'll take it.
Just saying."
Is that your weekly recap then?
I'm gonna get off that controversial topic. Yeah, that's it. If we don't get canceled for this episode, maybe we can say whatever we want.
Okay, so my recap is I've seen a couple movies recently that I just kind of want to talk about because these don't deserve their own episode necessarily. But I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once a bit ago, and we haven't really mentioned that. I was essentially peer pressured into watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, mainly by the genre geeks who are a friend of the show. But it was more of like strong recommendation, if you will. And I took it and I was not disappointed at all. That is probably the most impressive movie I've seen from this year. Like that, they made that movie with $25 million. And it has some of the most like creative VFX I've seen maybe ever. And so it's just, it feels like you're on drugs when you're watching it. It's insane. So great movie. I also watched Uncharted over the break, which not a lot of people like Uncharted. I'm gonna put it like this. I'm gonna put it like this. The casting decisions in Uncharted were bad decisions. I don't think they should have chosen who they chose. And I don't play the Uncharted games because I've never had a PlayStation. So I got to go into this movie and watch it as like a treasure adventure movie. And I thought it was fun. There's some objective things like I don't think Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland have great chemistry. That's just what I think. I don't think that's a hot take. But I think if you watch it as like a national treasure, fun, just adventure movie, I think it has some really enjoyable parts.
But National Treasure is better.
No, it is very objectively better.
Okay, just making sure.
Next, I watched Elvis in theaters, which I was rather impressed by. I think they pulled off more than I expected them to. Is it my favorite movie from this year? No, I think it was too long, and some parts dragged, and some parts went at lightning speed. But overall,
true.
It was just a really impressive movie. I was glad to have seen it in the theater because I don't think this is one I would have like intentionally watched at home. So, and then the final one is I saw Jordan Peele's Nope. I briefly mentioned that in the last episode, and it's hit my number one spot for new movies this year. So go see Nope. Well, by the time this releases, it probably won't be in theaters, but when you get the chance,
It'll
if you
only
haven't
have been
seen
a month.
Really? Is it? Will it still be in? Will it
think.
still be in theaters?
Should be.
Yeah, we're also
Most
at a point.
Most movies stay about.
Yeah.
45 days, 7 weeks.
Okay, so
something like that.
Go see Nope. However you can. It's legitimately just one of the most creative films I've seen, and it earned my number one spot for best new movie so far. And I want to put this. I want to say my current top 5 ranking, just because we're at kind of like a point in the year. We're like at the end of the year, we're going to go through all of our ranked movies from 2022.
That's true.
And so I want to kind of put a pinpoint of my top 5. This is top 5 movies that released in 2022, in my opinion, at the moment, recording August 5th, 2022. Number 5 is Top Gun Maverick. Number 4 is The Batman.
Nice.
Number 3 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Number
Nice.
2 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And number
Nice.
1 is Nope. Sir?
Neato. Can I read my top 5?
Yeah.
So you want to hear the funny part? My top 5 has not changed
Really?
since April.
Mm.
Yeah. A lot of the movies this year, and I know I texted you about this, especially when Doctor Strange came out, a lot of the movies I've watched this year are fighting for the different, like, spots in the teens,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, like the top 5 has remained pretty solid. But everything underneath that is what's shifting around. And I don't know, I'm looking at the slate of, like, movies that are coming out this year, and I don't think anything's going to break top 5.
I mean,
There might be an anime movie or something that hasn't been announced yet. Like, I know there's supposed to be another Sword Art Online movie coming out, which when that came out last year, it broke my top 5. So there might be something that I haven't seen yet.
You'll be surprised.
But we'll see.
You'll be surprised.
But my top 5 as of right now, August 5th, 2022, in number 5, we have The Batman. And then number 4 is Death on the Nile.
Really?
3 is... I know, that's what I thought. I was like, really? This is still up here? But then I think back to, like, how much I genuinely enjoyed the mystery of it. And that's what's keeping it in
Death on the
number
Nile
4.
is my number 16.
Dude, Uncharted is my number 29.
Okay.
Which is the bottom of the list.
That's fair.
My number 3 is The Inside Out Takes by Bo Burnham. Number 2 is Belle, the anime movie I saw at the beginning of the year.
That's on
and
HBO.
The number one, which I'll take no hate for, Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Don't, no.
I'm sorry. It's the only movie. It's the only movie I've seen this year where my expectations were so ridiculously high.
And it met.
And it met every single one of them and exceeded. It's the only movie I've seen this year that has really exceeded my expectations.
If we record an episode...
Bullet Train...
No,
Bullet Train,
continue.
I went in with mid expectations, and I usually go in with low expectations, and if you exceed low expectations, that's not really an accomplishment, because it's the bar was already so low, going over it's just kind of okay. But then Sonic, the expectations were all the way up here at 300, and Sonic went to 500. It's almost
if we record our final episode of the year, if we record 2022 Rewind, and your number one movie is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I'm leaving. This is not okay. The fact that
2023, we get a new it's the Nerdiest podcast by Nick Barrett and unnamed new co-host. Don't threaten me like that. That's very mean-spirited.
I'm just shocked. I can't believe.
I mean, here's the thing.
I can't believe Everything Everywhere didn't crack top 5. I can't believe there's just some incredibly good movies that I'm surprised that you just haven't clicked with you.
Here's the thing. Last year in 2021, I saw the Demon Slayer movie in April, and that was my number 1 at the end of the year. There's something about movies that I see around April, which I feel like next year, fingers crossed, could be either the Mario movie. Actually, I'm just kidding. I'm not putting that good expectations on the Mario movie. Just kidding.
Movie. Ew.
I know it's Chris Pratt, but I am not. No, that will not be my number 1 movie of the year. But I think it could be Guardians 3. Genuinely.
Yeah.
It could. We'll see. Because Guardians 3 is getting that, for me personally, it's getting that Sonic 2 level hype. Just because of how much I love the Guardians and Chris Pratt and all that stuff. And it's coming out on my 21st birthday. We went over this in last episode. So there's something about those early year movies, and then nothing can top that. We'll see.
We'll see.
But
This sounds like a you
right
problem. Now. So I'm gonna
also,
leave it.
For frame of reference, Everything Everywhere All at Once is my number 9. So it did break the top 10. Number 10 is Pompo the Cinephile, which is an anime movie that every filmmaker should watch because it is genuinely fantastic and is in my top 10. And then Bullet Train is 11. And Elvis is 17. just to kind of go over, because I've seen some of the movies. The only one you named that I haven't seen is Nope,
which you
I'll
definitely
update where
should
that's
go
at.
see.
Oh no, I do want to go see it. I've just been super busy with the whole
Yeah.
like moving and graduating and all that stuff.
Well,
So,
like,
once I get moved and settled, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go see a bunch of movies that I haven't seen yet.
well, like Elvis hit my number 8, and Uncharted
Really?
hit my number 9, and it's just
Really?
it's just the key word is in comparison. Do I think Uncharted is top 10 worthy? No, but was it better than The Lost City, Jurassic World Dominion, and Rise of Gru? In my opinion,
True.
yeah. So,
That is how I run my list. Just real quick, and then we'll move into Lord of the Rings. What is your current? What's your current numbers on movies for this year?
it's yours.
'Cause I have-
yours is a lot higher than
'cause-
mine.
No, I know that. Because I have like new 2022 movies, and then I have my total watched this year.
What's your total?
Do you have? Are you? My total watch this year is 61 so far, with 29 of those being new
Okay.
movies, like 2022 movies.
I don't know how you did that, because I have 37, and of those 37, 18 are new.
Well, you also have to think about we watched 6 movies in the span of a week
That's true.
for the Jurassic World episode.
Well, I
we
mean,
watched
I
3
did that
movies in the span
too.
of a week for this.
I did that too, though.
Yeah,
You watch
but
a lot
I think
of.
I also.
You watch a lot of anime movies that I don't. That
That's
I'm just
true.
not connected to.
Am I forgetting? Wait, I thought I watched that movie this year. Maybe I didn't.
Anyway,
that's
so
last year.
the
I don't
reason you're here.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
So,
Aha!
Lord of the Rings.
Lord
This
of the
is
Flies. I mean, what?
franchise revisit. We did this one other time. We did the Jurassic Parktacular, and it went incredibly well. The thing is, like, we had to name it the Jurassic Parktacular because that was just a fire name that we couldn't pass on, and so
Came up with it in the movie theater.
this is where all the best ideas are had. And so
course.
this is technically episode 2 of Franchise Revisit. We're just kind of like trying to go back to some of these franchises that are kind of, I wouldn't say forgotten about, but not necessarily talked about as much. So if you have any recommendations for series of movies that you want to be heard, shoot a DM, send an email on the website. We would love to hear what you say. We have a couple of these planned for, I think we have a couple for this year and a lot for next year. So
Let me look. I don't want to say what the ones are
I
for
don't
this
want to
year,
spoil
but right
it.
now
I don't want to spoil it.
we have one more for this year, but we could fit in 2, depending
Yeah.
on how the schedule plays out. And then we have ideally planned 6 for next year,
Ideally.
and we have them all mapped out. But as we mentioned on the last episode, the schedule the schedule is subject to change up until minute of recording.
Yes.
So
we
that's why we're
watched-
not saying anything.
So we watched all 3 Lord of the Rings movies and prep for this. The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, The Return of the King. I finished Return of the King 20 minutes before we started recording.
Same.
So just like, that's not to say I don't care, because I care very deeply. There was just a time crunch and I had to fit it in. So
Exactly.
we cannot talk about Lord of the Rings without talking about the movies that were were made after, pulling a Star Wars, The Hobbit. I want to do a second on The Hobbit. What are your general thoughts, feelings, emotions with The Hobbit movie series?
I watched The Hobbit in 8th grade, I think, and I have not watched them since then, because for literature class, we were tasked with reading The Hobbit. That was our fall semester book, was The Hobbit. And the teacher said, don't watch the movies to find the answers. And I said, is that a threat or a challenge? So I watched the movies to find the answers. Because I'm one of those people that's like, why would I sit down and read the book when I can go and have the TV tell the story to me? It's just more efficient, and it'll take me 2.5 hours to finish this movie instead of like 4 hours reading. Makes too much sense.
4 hours, man.
So that's my experience with The Hobbit. They're okay movies, I guess. I can't really remember any of the characters in them except for Bilbo and Gandalf. That's it.
Have you
and
seen?
I think Legolas is in the movies too.
Yeah. Have you seen all
and then
three?
that one guy, I have seen all three. And then the one guy who played the Beast, or not the Beast, who played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, which by the way is a better role for him than the guy who played in The Hobbit.
Yeah, the guy from Lake Town.
That's
forgot
about all
that he
I
was in
remember.
it. Benedict Cumberbatch as a dragon. Heck yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So my experience with The Hobbit
They put Benedict Cumberbatch in a mocap suit for the dragon.
My favorite memes are like, it's like, go play with the neighbor's kid, and it's like the neighbor's kid, and it's like Benedict Cumberbatch crawling around as the dragon in the mocap suit, and he's like, I am death. And it's just amazing. It's so funny. But it's also just really impressive. Because, like, I didn't... Like, what's he doing now? Doctor Strange? Get out of here. Get out of here. Career went downhill after Smaug.
Gosh. Smaug, actually.
Smaug. So,
I don't know. I know that's a debate.
My experience with The Hobbit is interesting because I was kind of like, oh, The Hobbit comes before Lord of the Rings, so I should watch The Hobbit before Lord of the Rings. And so when the movies were coming out, I bought An Unexpected Journey, the first Hobbit movie, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. And then I watched them as they released. I saw the other two in theaters, which is a very good and very clear memory for me. And so I really do enjoy the Hobbit movies. I feel like a lot of people hate them because they're not Lord of the Rings, and the story isn't there as much as Lord of the Rings, which is fair because The Hobbit is one book, which they made into 3 movies, and Lord of the Rings is... Well, no, Lord of the Rings is also one book, but it's also just like...
No, it's 3 books.
No, it's 3? Really? Okay.
It is. Actually, let me double check that because I don't want to speak ignorantly.
I thought Lord of the Rings was one book, but it was just like a big book. I'd also like to preface, I'm sorry to any like real like deep Lord of the Rings fans out there. I have not read any of the books. I am a movie guy. No.
The Lord of the Rings consists of 3 books: The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King.
Okay. So Lord of the Rings had
it is
3 books, where The Hobbit was one book that they turned into 3 movies. And so the story isn't as strong. I understand that. And they do rely a little bit more on the CG as compared to Lord of the Rings. But also, like, I just think they're enjoyable movies. I still find whimsy and fun in the same way I watch Lord of the Rings. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know if I'll get crucified for that. I might.
You will. It's over.
But also, that song Ed Sheeran did for The Desolation of Smaug, fire. I see fire.
Literally.
At the, like, so... I just want to say the end of Desolation of Smaug is so good because like the dragon flies out and they like accidentally released him and Bilbo's like, oh no, what have we done? And then it cuts to black and then you just hear Ed Sheeran's voice, oh misty eye of the mountain below. Chills in the theater, like I don't even know how old, goosebumps down my arms and legs. That was amazing. Wow. Amazing. And now I'm on Twitter. People are like, the Hobbit movies should never have existed. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I mean, I feel like they really should have started there. I don't know why they started with Lord of the Rings and not the Hobbit, because Tolkien wrote both books.
Yeah, he did, but also I think it's kind of fair to look at the one that has more story, you know? Because
I guess
didn't he write Lord of the Rings first? Or am I wrong about that?
I don't know.
Man, we really should have prepped a little more for this. So that's The Hobbit. As far as my history with Lord of the Rings, I watched the Lord of the Rings movies. I never read the books, which honestly I'm inclined to read the books, but I've heard that it's not an easy read. So I'm a little, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be as fun of a read as I want it to be. Mr. Nick, yes.
Okay, so according to Google, The Lord of the Rings started as a sequel to Tolkien's work The Hobbit, published in 1937.
So The Hobbit was first.
Yes.
Okay.
So why they didn't start there, I'll never know. I'll never know.
That's interesting.
But also, really quickly, before we move on to the Lord of the Rings, I have one more thing about The Hobbit.
Okay.
So, to go back to my 8th grade literature class, we had to do a project related to Lord of the Rings, and I don't have it with me, but I wrote a story that takes place in the Hobbit universe. I'm sorry, not Lord, like the Hobbit, because that's what we were doing. So I wrote a short story, and when I say short story, I mean like 500 words, but it felt a lot longer because I was in 8th grade.
Of course.
So I wrote like this little like fan fiction, if you will, and it's really just the plot of The Hobbit, but with me, Megan, and 2 of our other friends as the main 4 characters. And here's the thing, guys. If we sell 200 stickers, I will read that fan fiction on the podcast.
Buy the stickers.
That's all I'm saying.
200
Buy the
stickers
to support the fan fiction reading on the podcast.
I'm a fan.
No, we gotta
order them.
We gotta do a similar to your series you did, where you read your old writing. We gotta do that,
yeah.
but with my Hobbit fan fiction.
Okay. Let's have a meeting after this podcast.
Hey yo.
So
now, Lord of the Rings.
So I will ask, what's your history with Lord of the Rings? How, like, what have
Lord
been
of the
your influences over time with this series?
Well, I also watched Lord of the Rings when I was in 8th grade. It was a very big medieval year for me. So I watched Lord of the Rings originally with my granddad. We had it on DVD. Does anybody remember DVDs? We also had it on VHS.
Wait,
Does anybody remember VHS? No?
Like
okay.
4K or
no, just a DVD.
what?
Just a DVD, a singular DVD.
Are you?
And
You're
actually,
joshing with
our
me.
Two Towers DVD was scratched, so we couldn't finish Two Towers. So we skipped to Return of the King. So I was missing something until we got a different Two Towers DVD. I watched them, thought they were good. I enjoyed them. They were kind of slow for 8th grade me.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much exposition and dialogue. And for graduated college me, there is also still too much exposition and dialogue in Fellowship of the Ring. So clearly my taste has never changed. But I did enjoy them. I thought they were good. I'm kind of upset. I missed the whole like Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit, like the Lego sets, which was really disappointing to 8th grade me. Because, you know, you watch the movie and, well, that's all you want. Same for Harry Potter. But then they brought back Harry Potter, so I don't know. Maybe they'll bring back Lord of the Rings.
Well, they brought back the Lord of the Rings Lego game. They remastered it and released it again, if I'm not mistaken. Unless that was also Harry Potter. I think they did a Lord of the Rings one. So there's hope for Lord of the Rings Lego sets to come back. If
They're apparently bringing back Indiana Jones next year.
Don't you lie to me. Don't you lie to me.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not. That's what I've heard through the grapevine.
I think it's funny that you're still connected to the Lego leaks. You have a history. Anyway.
I'm in a group chat, but I can't say anything else because it's confidential.
No need.
No one will know.
So my history with Lord of the Rings is interesting because I played the Lego Lord of the Rings game on the Xbox 360, 100% it. Love that game. And I watched the movies in the car once. And I was like, yeah, those are good movies. Like, and then the first time I watched Return of the King was today. And so I had like, air quote, watched them. And so I was just kind of the mindset, like, yeah, I've seen Lord of the Rings. Those are good movies. They're like, I like The Hobbit too. Those are good movies. And then this week when I sat down and really watched them, I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen Lord of the Rings, which is crazy because I have such an appreciation of it now, being a little older. Like I was like 8 or 9 when I watched Fellowship of the Ring in the car for the first time. And I was like, yeah, it's a good movie. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, they accomplished so much with these films. It's incredible. I also had, which is funny, I had a couple Lord of the Rings Lego sets. That was more of my younger brother's thing. When he was like 4 years old, he would watch every Lord of the Rings movie like all the way through, like almost every week, which is hilarious. So we had a ton of the Lego sets, which are now destroyed, which is incredibly sad to me.
As you do.
And my favorite Lego set I've ever had was Bilbo's house. And it was the full, like, it had the hill and the door, and you'd open it and there were all the characters and they were feasting at a long table, and it was magnificent. And I don't remember how, I don't remember when. It was at one point destroyed, and I have tried to rebuild it like 3 different times, and I can't, because our Legos are so mixed up now. And it's just, I feel like sometime when I'm off school on a summer, hey, I gotta just grind it out, because that
Lego building live stream on Instagram.
Hey yo, you'll follow the Instagram, because that's a great idea. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of my history. I played the Lego games and I was like, yeah, I've seen the movies. And now that I've actually seen the movies, I'm like, okay, Lord of the Rings is awesome. So now I want to go.
Where have you been?
Right? Where
have you been?
I feel like an idiot now.
Yeah. Cringe.
General thoughts per movie. Go.
As I said, Fellowship of the Ring is really slow. And there's a lot of exposition and setup that makes it feel a lot slower than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And that problem is fixed in the other 2 movies, but it doesn't excuse how, like, long. And I understand that it had to be long because I could tell that Peter Jackson wanted to get all of that exposition and all of that, like, out of the way. So by the time you get to the 2nd and 3rd movie, it's like, okay, now we're getting into the action and everything. Because for me, it felt like that was resolved by the time I got to 2 Towers.
Mm-hmm.
So looking through, I mean, that's all I have generally. I have a bunch of notes I did take. Just stuff like, you shall not pass and fly, you fools. Iconic. Still quoted to this day. Beautiful. Another note I wrote is modern day movies would never wound the main character this early in the story. Like Frodo almost dies like 3 different times in the first movie, and you're like, oh, they would never do that today. Never.
I did have a really funny thought at the end of Return of the King today. I just thought, what if this was a Marvel movie? Because I feel like it would end and it would be like, Aragorn will return. And I'm just like...
the post-credit scene, Aragorn will return.
Ah, man.
Also, something I've noticed, we don't really release movie trilogies like this anymore.
No. Because this...
Like, Lord of the Rings was 2001, 2002, 2003.
And it was all done. They filmed all 3 movies, had them done, and then released them year after year. And it was a full, complete story that started with 1 and ended at 3. It's done. It's done. You don't need to add anything to it. They didn't try to add anything to it. Except The Hobbit, but that's a different situation because it's another book. Anyway, so, yeah, you could watch these 3 movies without a gap and it would be a contiguous 9-hour story, and that's amazing. We don't do that anymore. I also, interesting thing, this kind of relates, is the CG in this movie is phenomenal. This was released in 2001.
Yeah, and some of that CG looks better than what we're seeing nowadays.
Like huh? And you wanna know what else is interesting is it's seldom used, and it's very practical. It's only used when needed, and I think that's beautiful.
Like all of those orcs, that was makeup.
Yeah.
Like that was makeup and costuming that they put on physical actors.
Yeah,
which is really impressive.
Yeah, it was really good. And then the few times that they had to use like what I assume was green screen for, like, I don't know, the Mines of Moria, like, it still looked amazing. And I was just like, I was insanely impressed, and it made me realize how lazy we've gotten with some of our VFX these days, like I was a million years ago. But no, my general thoughts on Fellowship of the Ring is, I see what you're saying with, like, it's a slow start, but also in the context of the 3 movies, it does make sense. So, like, they really just had to, like, ramp it out so that you could get to that high point in the other movies. And this movie does have some high points too. And the main thing that I took notes on was just how beautiful they made Bag End. Or not just Bag End, but the Shire. And how the Shire was such a comforting place for me. And how I was just sitting there watching this movie thinking, man, I would drop everything right now and go live in the Shire. Like, can I just go live in a little hole with like my little community and we can throw birthday parties for each other? Like, they did an incredible job making the Shire look and feel like a home. And so for the rest of the movies, I was like, yeah, they need to get home because that place is dope. So
yeah,
that was just brilliant. I think Bilbo's writing is brilliant. And really, I think, can we really credit writing to the movies? Because I'm sure because the screenplay is phenomenal. But it's also like J.R.R. Tolkien wrote it. So, like, where's the credit due?
Right, so who gets writing credit here? Like, one thing I want to note that I noticed, at least from Fellowship of the Ring, is there's a lot of deep world building that I don't see in modern films. Like, you can say, oh, well, the MCU has a lot of world building, like Star Wars has a lot of world building, and I'm like, yeah. I understand that. But, like, Lord of the Rings, like, Tolkien really covered every single one of his bases when writing this novel or writing these books. Like,
yeah,
you name it, it's touched upon. Like, it's there.
Even in the first movie. So, like, it gives context in the first movie.
I wish it was done more.
So they give context to all of these different types of people and all these different places in the first movie so that they can reference back to them in the others. And it makes this, like, connected story that's just, it's honestly beautiful. Like, do I even have anything bad to say about these movies? Probably not, honestly.
Not really.
Except the fact that, like, I'll be honest, I had to watch all of these in 2 sittings just because, not to say that they're bad by any means, they use their 3 hours, but good. There is not a dull moment. Like, everything is important. It's just after like 2 hours, I'm kind of ready to do something else, if that makes sense.
Same.
Because it's a lot of...
I understand. And that has more to do with our attention span nowadays.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the movies themselves.
Yeah.
That is the fact that we cannot sit in the same spot for 3 hours and do nothing.
It's also just rough to watch a movie that long by yourself. So if we could have watched it together, I could have watched 2 in a day. But it's just like this by myself. It's midnight and I'm only an hour and a half in. Like, I'm gonna pause this and I'll come back to you. So
I'll get back to you on that.
I asked my mom, I was like, when these movies released, which shows how young I am, but I was like, when these movies
I wasn't even
released,
alive.
were people upset about the length? Because I've been thinking about a lot about Avatar and how everyone's saying, oh, it's going to be too long. And I said, when Lord of the Rings was released, were people upset about the length? And she said, no, we were too obsessed with the story to care about how long they were. And I was like, okay, respect. So that's kind of all I have to say. The first movie it sets up the other 2 incredibly well. And I did write a funny note where I said Gandalf and Saruman should have been played by the same actor, like in a 90s sitcom. So, like, their, like, interactions would be, like, obviously split so that they could cut and, like,
oh yeah, the standing.
Yeah, they're standing too far apart so they can split down the middle. I watched all of these movies at like 1 a.m. I don't know why I wrote that down, but it was a good thought. Okay, unless you have anything else to say, we're gonna move on to the 2 Towers. Lord of the Rings.
I already have my
2.
note for the 2 Towers.
Go for it.
First note I wrote down: they're taking the hobbits to Isengard. Listen, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, if you know, you know. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. Does anybody else... Okay. I'm speaking directly to the audience here. Does anybody else remember the YouTube video? They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. And it's like a YouTube edit of Legolas saying they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, but they put like the theme underneath it, but it's like a kind of dubstep trap remix, kind of in a sense, of the it's really funny, and I love it. And apparently Orlando Bloom knows it exists too, which makes it even better. It's the same vein, which if we like when we eventually do Pirates of the Caribbean, spoiler alert, that may or may not be the next one. It's the same energy as Why Is the Rum Gone? If you've seen that video, it just breathes a different era of YouTube.
No, yeah, that was the peak
is exactly
of YouTube.
what it is, and I love it so much.
Iconic. I want to say
everything else about the Two Towers, so much better, so much more action.
Yeah,
just better movie overall.
It scratched my monkey brain more than the dialogue of the first one. Which,
oh man, they're swinging swords and cutting people up, and they're shooting arrows, pew pew.
Which I understand because you can almost watch these 3 movies as if they are 3 acts, and so it just needs to ramp, and that's great. I think that's what sets these movies apart, and I want that to happen more. But it's also hard when the 3 hours are act 1. So that's what I'll say. I just also the opening scene of the the Two Towers.
No,
is
you.
I promised I wouldn't.
No,
do
we
this.
talked about this.
The opening scene of the Two Towers is just so incredibly boss that it's just Gandalf falling through the mines, like just stabbing this demon thing, and then they're like just falling, and he's just going, and they land in the water, and he's alive, and I'm just like, this is amazing. How did they pull this off? It's just
they just did,
and it's amazing. And something interesting that I saw in this movie that I don't remember as much when I watched them when I was younger is Gollum is like a whole dude. Like I remember him being like this gross, like tiny little creature thing, but no, he's like a full dude. Like he's like I knew that he was a human.
It's Andy Serkis in a mocap suit.
Yeah, like I knew that, but he was a lot creepier this time around. Because I just saw like all of his like limbs, and like he was huge, and I just remember him being a lot smaller, and so he was a lot freakier this time around.
CG on Gollum
Popped
really
off.
good.
Popped off.
I'm gonna say, popped off. Looked good.
I also want to credit good writing when I wrote down Frodo's.
Frodo's? Who's Frodo?
Frodo's
Chinese knockoff of Lord of the Rings.
My gosh, Walmart brand Lord of the Rings. Frodo
Sandra paper bag.
Yeah. So Frodo's struggle to help Gollum because he's afraid that that's what he will become. I cannot emphasize how good that is. Okay, Frodo wants to help Gollum a lot more than Sam because Frodo has the same burden, and he is afraid that he will turn into Gollum. Screaming, crying, throwing up. That's amazing.
To piggyback off of your writing thing, I want to shout out like the writing in general, because the whole, like the Lord of the Rings as a whole, really, and the way I wrote this down, I wrote out 2 different notes. The whole thing tells a story that shows the innate evil in man when presented with something like a ring that can give you all of the power. It's a very forbidden fruit in Genesis type thing, where it's like, this is the one thing you can't have. So what do you do when you have characters who are put in that situation? And like Gollum's character is showing you this is the extreme when you let this kind of power and temptation and all of that corrupt you, and this is what you turn into. And like, I don't know, it just tells this very like good, clear, like there is a good guy, there is a bad guy. There is no in between. You are either a good guy or you are a bad guy. And if you are a good guy who sides with the bad guy, then that makes you a bad guy, not an in between guy. You are a bad guy. And, you know, as I said, it really digs into that temptation and evil and greed and like this. You would think a ring, right? Something so tiny like this that you can flick away, like has so much power and gravitas. And even the scenes where like you can tell that Frodo is being influenced by the ring because they do that really nice sound editing and they do like the Dutch angle and they bring everything in, and then, you know, you snap out of it and everything goes back to normal. Just the way all of that was put together, chef's kiss. Beautiful.
It was visualized in a way that I don't think could have been any better. Like, what could they have done to make it better? I couldn't tell you. It was just, it's phenomenal. And it's just, it shows how good, it shows how good of a director that, is it Peter Jackson? I almost said Percy Jackson, not gonna lie.
I thought you were going to.
So it just shows how good of a director Peter Jackson is. It shows how incredible of a writer J.R.R. Tolkien is. Like, he's just one of the amazing Christian men of his time. What else?
Was he? Wait.
Yes, he was with
Tolkien
C.S.
was
Lewis.
the Christian one. Yeah, Lewis was the Christian one, but he influenced Tolkien because they hung out a lot.
Yeah,
they were buddies.
So Tolkien wasn't actually.
I remember reading or learning about that in English class.
Yes.
Yeah, because remember, C.S. Lewis wrote Narnia, and there's a very like clear Jesus stand-in in Narnia. Like he was not subtle about it at all.
That was his
Good
intention.
for him, by the way.
That was his full intention.
But then he also like rubbed off on Tolkien.
Yes.
Too.
That's the story.
I only have one more thing to say about Two Towers. Tolkien created Groot. I'm sorry. We can't even give that to Marvel. But also, like, Groot versus Treebeard, who would win? What do you think? I put my money on Groot. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah, because he's got a raccoon that can sit on his shoulder with a giant gun.
That's true. But does Treebeard has an army?
True. But Groot has a Hulk.
But Treebeard has Merry and Pippin.
Okay, and?
Well, they were useful.
Do Merry and Pippin have guns? No.
They
have rocks.
Lord of the Rings with guns? Concept?
Nah, Lord of the Rings with guns, it goes from like 9 hours to an hour if you add guns.
Was it
easy?
What's the YouTube edit, like Harry Potter with guns? It'd be like that.
Bam. Oh no, we killed Voldemort.
We got him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Crazy, I know.
I also, last thing that I have to say about Two Towers is that the Gimli and Legolas relationship starts here. And that is just an iconic bromance. Best BFFs, if you will. Enemies to lovers. It's just chef's kiss. Well, sorry, enemies to friends. It's whatever. They're a great duo, and I really appreciated their relationship.
They're homies, you know what I'm saying?
I really appreciated their friendship. Just because they're funny, and I like that they added like a little bit of a humor, but also not in a stupid way, because it was more like, oh, we're still fighting a war, like I'm just gonna count how many people. It's fine, I punched my microphone. He's like, we're still fighting in a war, we're just gonna count how many people we've gotten. And I think that's really fun, really hilarious, and it's charming. And the Lord of the Rings movies are just all around very charming, and it's very comforting. These are very good comfort movies, despite how intense that they really are. That's all I got. Anything else on Two Towers?
I mean, I was just gonna say it's more of CGI looking better than anything we've gotten in Marvel so far. Well, not anything, but like recent. But also, one thing I want to point out, which this carries over into Return of the King, is the way they present Gollum's character and the way they visually set apart the two different sides of his personality. Like you have obviously the Gollum, the more evil one,
and then
but then you have Smeagol, who's on the other side. There's one scene where he's looking into a pond, and I think it's in Return of the King.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's in the beginning. He's looking into the pond, and all of the shots with Gollum are looking down at the pond, but then all of the shots with Smeagol are looking at his physical body. I genuinely forgot that there was only one of him for like that brief period of time. And then they do an over the shoulder that shows like you can see him in the reflection, but you can also see him talking. Like this is him, and he has now embraced this in his body. So just that kind of visual storytelling.
Amazing.
Killer. And it's crazy how you get that kind of, like, that's what Peter Jackson took away from what Tolkien originally wrote in the books. He then took that and turned it into that, which is really, I think that's great.
It's just really great. This is, man, I hope this isn't a boring episode because these movies are just legitimately phenomenal. Like they're,
I don't have anything bad to say about them.
No, legit. Return of the King, I'm going to say is my favorite of the three because Return of the King was the one that I got the most hyped for. That may have been because of the battles, which were done just beautifully. Oh my gosh. That final fight had me applauding. I'm in my living room applauding. That's insane. And so just like the way that they were able to portray the scale of this war just blew me away. And there were so many satisfying moments where like there's like this corrupt king that is like, flee for your lives, we gotta get out of here. And then Gandalf just beats the crap out of him and he's like, hold your ground. I was like, let's go, Mr. Gandalf the White. It was also phenomenal. Amazing.
Frick that guy.
No, legit.
Frick that guy who like was gonna burn him and his son alive.
Yeah.
Frick that guy.
Yeah. What's up?
All the homies hate that guy.
What even was up with that? Like,
yeah, he was like, I'm just gonna burn my son alive. Why not?
Kind of lost.
He's dead.
Kind of lost me there. Not gonna lie.
Despite this hobbit yelling in my ear that he's alive. No, he's dead.
No, he's dead. No, I'm right. Yeah. Screw that guy. He sucked.
He deserved to die.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
What?
Do we need a spoiler alert for like, I don't know.
How long is Lord of the Rings?
Fellowship of the Ring is what? Fellowship of the Ring is what? 21 years old. Fellowship of the Ring is old enough to drink.
Yeah. Okay. The movie. Think about the book.
We don't need spoilers for these movies.
Think about the book.
The book is like over almost like. Hold on. How old is the Lord of the Rings book? Oh, she's not gonna talk.
Oh.
So it started in 1954.
Okay.
How many years ago was 1954?
Like 68.
It was 68 years ago. How did you do that math so quickly? How did you do that so quickly?
How did you do that?
The Lord of the Rings books can apply for senior citizenship.
I'm sorry. I did a lot of Khan Academy back in my day.
Oh, what a goober. I mean, I did too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, this movie got me hyped. When that ghost army comes in, oh, phenomenal. Like when they're like, the orcs are like, oh, we got him. And then Aragorn jumps off that pirate ship. And then all of the like the ghost guys, I'm just like, yes, it's so good. And I also want to say that these three movies as a whole were a lot freakier than I remembered. There were a lot more intense moments and like scary little things than I remember. And I think the most disturbing one was in Return of the King when they start catapulting like the heads onto their...
Yes. Oh my God.
I was not ready for that. I was like... I have no memory of that. Like that really freaked me out because it came out of nowhere. So heads are flying. That's cool. I also really liked that in Return of the King, they separated Pippin and Merry, because they were like the dynamic duo, and like I didn't think that they could stand on their own without each other. But no, like it really deepened the characters in the sense of like they were no longer comic relief. They were like, you got to look at each of both of them individually and really be like, he's like, no, I want to fight in this war. And so I thought that was just
same for that girl who had a really bad issue with flirting with Aragon.
Okay. That was weird.
That was kind of weird. That was a little uncomfortable.
I mean, yeah. Ooh, especially
Arwen out there. I'm about to commit some murder, bro.
Especially because the elf lady was like all about him, which also props to her for giving up like her super longevity of life to like
nice.
go
I respect
out with
that.
Aragorn. Hey, true love prevails.
I wouldn't do the same. Sorry, Megan. I wouldn't do the same, but good for her.
I mean, pop off, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, go off, I guess, or whatever. You know,
whatever.
It's fine.
Also, the set in this movie, Return of the King specifically, the locations are on point. Like, freaking Mordor is terrifying. I love it so much, and it just it gave me like a Mustafar vibe, and I really enjoyed that. Also, something I wrote down that I thought was interesting is it wasn't until Return of the King that I realized they were barefoot on this entire journey.
Really?
The hobbits were. Yeah. The hobbits were barefoot the whole time.
Oh, wait, no, that's true. That's true. Sorry. I was saying really to the fact that you didn't notice it until now.
Yeah. No. Yeah, they were barefoot the whole time, and I was just like, could not have been me. Surely the dogs had to have been barking by the end of that journey.
Arf, dude.
Woof.
Bark.
I mean, could not have been me. I would have had my Skechers Deluxe walkers with like my Dr. Scholl's insults. Like, no way. No way.
Nah, homie, I can't do that. My feet would be hurting.
The dogs.
Could you imagine the kind of arthritis I'd be getting? Or no, arthritis is in your hands, idiot. Ugh.
The dogs would be barking. Woof.
Do you have anything else to say about the movie? Because I have one more thing about Lord of the Rings overall, and then I'm good. I've aired all my not all my grievances, all my praises, I guess.
I want to say Return of the King has a very satisfying ending, and I was trying to figure out. I was like, okay, almost every one of the main groups survived, and so like, I feel like I shouldn't be satisfied by this easy ending of like, oh, they win, everything did it. But man, just the hell that they went through to get there, I was so happy for them that they pulled it off. So
yeah,
I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting thing of like, in any other movie, I would have felt like it was too easy, but it was not easy for them at all. So props.
Samwise Gamgee, MVP.
Okay, I was going to bring that up. Samwise
MVP.
Frodo
would not have made it to Mordor without Sam.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's true.
No, Samwise, he carried the team, if you will. Literally and metaphorically.
Yeah. Yeah.
He carried.
100%. What a guy. He just picked him. He's like, all right, let's go.
I also thought it was really interesting in the end of Return of the King when Samwise goes home to like his family and kids, and he has the line of like, he's like, I can be myself now, or something like that, something along the lines of like, he has his own life now, and because like Frodo wasn't there, as like Frodo was his burden to take care of, and so
right,
I thought that was beautifully done, just to be like, oh, he's free now too. And so they almost needed to have Frodo leave to fully wrap up every character, which is just, I could gush about these movies forever. They're phenomenal.
Well, you're not allowed to.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got to keep it close to an hour. Sorry. I don't want to be that guy.
It's okay.
You know,
it's fine. It's whatever.
I mean, I was gonna go get some Chick-fil-A. But
okay.
You know,
well,
I mean, if you want to keep going,
I mean,
I'll go get Chick-fil-A and come back.
Can I have mac and cheese?
No.
Okay. Oh,
No.
Oh.
I'm getting the mac and cheese for myself.
Oh. Okay. That's
Because I'm running out of food in my apartment. And I kind of need to buy the longevity of how much food I have
your
left.
groceries.
So-
Yeah, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah.
So did you have something to say overall, or was it the Samwise thing?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say something that I totally forgot about until like 5 minutes ago. Something that really increased my enjoyment of Lord of the Rings, or like my intrigue with it in general, was this YouTube channel called Brotherhood Workshop. I don't know if you ever watched their videos, but it was Lego stop motion animation, and the main series he did animations for was Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and they weren't like one for one recreations of scenes. It was a very like how it should have ended type thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where he took like this scene where they're coming, like the ghosts are coming off the ship, right? But he adds a comedic flair to it.
Wait,
and
what's this
in
called?
the ghosts, you can see Brotherhood Workshop. It's an animation channel. So like in the video, in the one where the ghosts are coming off the ship, like you can see different Lego characters in the ghosts. And it's not just like all of the like it's a lot more humorous and comedic take on different Lord of the Rings things. And he did some original stuff too. And it got so good that he actually like got contracted to do a Lego stop motion music video for what's the band? I think it's Home Free, Home Life, something like that. He did a music video for them. He did a ton of contracted work for Lego, like officially, and like. Just not only like did that increase my enjoyment of Lord of the Rings and all that, but it also encouraged me to stop motion and try stop motion and become better. And now look where we're at. I have a film degree, so
I'm so glad
Brotherhood Workshop, if you're watching, thanks for
you.
inspiring me.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, because I used to love these videos and I have been trying to find it, and I'm so glad. Let's go. No, you're right. Those were so good.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, you're beautiful. I need to pull out the old crappy Lord of the Rings Lego stop motion that I made, because it is legitimate hot garbage, but it was inspired by that. And so here we are. We really are the same person.
Yeah, exactly. We are just the same person. You're my clone, because I'm older than you.
Oh. So which movie was your favorite then? Because Return of the King is my favorite.
Don't make me... My favorite is actually my Hobbit fan fiction that I wrote.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite movie. It hasn't been turned into a movie yet.
Respect.
But that is my favorite. No, I think The Two Towers is my favorite. I really like the action in that one, and the way it was presented, and also the visual storytelling. Not that didn't, wasn't in the other two, but I think out of the three, that one's definitely my fave.
Okay. Very good. These are they're just legitimately incredible movies. And I'm like, I'm upset that I didn't watch them in full sooner. Like, that's crazy. Hey, here we are at the end of an episode talking about Lord of the Rings.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And
I'm gonna go get some Chick-fil-A.
You enjoy that. So, I'm gonna go get pizza.
What do you think? Should I get nuggets or a sandwich? I had a sandwich yesterday.
You went to
Just keep that in mind.
Wait, you're going to Chick-fil-A 2 days in a row?
You've never done that before?
No.
What? You've never done that before?
No. It's too expensive.
I mean, I don't really have a choice.
I'm sorry this is blowing your mind, but I've gone out to eat 2 days in a row before, but never to the same place.
Why?
Because I just
I'm not going to the same Chick-fil-A.
Can't let him know. Can't let him know I'm there every day.
There's one like 5 minutes from my apartment.
Can't let him know I'm going there every day. Come on.
That's all I got.
I'm gonna say nuggets if a sandwich is what you had yesterday.
Okay, but should I get? Okay, but here's a follow-up question: should I get strips? I haven't had strips in a while.
I've had the strips once, and I thought these are good, but it's not what I want when I go to a Chick-fil-A.
True.
That's my take. I'm still waiting
Fair.
for spicy nuggets from Chick-fil-A. Because their spicy sandwiches are really good.
Oh my gosh, they don't have they have grilled nuggets and the normal chicken nuggets. You're right.
I hate that you're making me want Chick-fil-A. I'm going to someone's house.
I think I'm gonna go get a 12 count.
I'm going to someone's house for pizza tonight, and so
I'm gonna go get a 12. I would get pizza, but it would make me sick.
loser.
So, I'm gonna go get my 12 count nugget meal with a large fry, a medium lemonade, 5 packs of ketchup, and a side of mac
Not
and
the
cheese.
medium lemonade.
Medium lemonade. What else am I supposed to get?
Sweet tea.
I don't. Nobody goes to Chick-fil-A for their Sprite.
No, why would you get Sprite? Go to get the sweet tea.
I don't like tea though.
Get an Arnold
I don't like
Palmer.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, I think lemonade is just okay. And so I don't really get Arnold Palmer. I'm sorry. I think lemonade is good, but it's not my choice. I think Chick-fil-A has some of the best lemonade that I've had, but I'm still not like, oh my gosh,
actually,
lemonade.
Yes, that's true. Okay, I'll come
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
for that.
yeah,
I'll come
yeah,
back for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You get that.
Okay,
You get that. I'll give you that.
we've ventured far enough to say it's time to end the episode. So
It's time to reel it in.
thank you for listening to this episode of the Nerdiest Podcast. If you'd like to stay up to date on when new episodes are coming out and want to see some cool original content and know when we do sticker drops, because we're doing stickers now, you got to buy the stickers with the link in the description. But for all that information, you can follow our Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast and our Tickety Talk at also the Nerdiest Podcast. Links will also be in the episode description. If you're listening on Spotify, do the episode poll or question if it's there. If it's not there, don't do it because you can't. It's not there.
It's not there.
But that's what I'll say. Follow on Instagram and TikTok. Buy the stickers with the link in the description. We've sold a lot, and I'm very thankful to everyone that has bought some. And I thank you for listening, wherever you are, whoever you are. If you're new, welcome. If you're recurring, how's it going? And I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful night. Thank you for listening this far. And until next time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Peace out.
Bye.